3, 2, 1. It's a me, Mario. That was Chris Pratt.
Oh, that's who it was.
Oh,
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Now.
yeah. That's not like even an exaggeration.
No.
Like, that's exactly like how he.
This is Sardonicast. I'm Adam from Your Movie Sucks.
It's me, Ralph the Movie Maker.
It's a me, IHE. Yeah, it's been delivered.
Yeah, that was a better Mario impression than.
We finally got it.
If you're doing the hand movement, then you got the Italian down.
Well, you got to do the hand movement. Yeah.
I think I saw like the French trailer somewhere on Twitter or something, and like the French guy who voices Mario in that trailer like sounds more like Mario than
Yeah.
Yeah, that one sounds pretty good.
It's weird. The same thing happened with The Lion King 2019, where the guy who played Mufasa in the Japanese version was the same actor as the original 1994 Japanese dub. But he still sounded like really good. He still sounded like he had a deep voice and wasn't like geriatric and like disintegrating. No offense to James Earl Jones, but the casting
It's true then.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Or like Bob Hoskins in the original Mario. You know, he's not Italian. They like never get Italian guys to like play Mario for some reason. It's that was a funny clip of him talking about like because he didn't really know Mario was. He's like, I'm playing a video game character. I used to play King Lear. It's like you can find it online. It's pretty funny.
Have you seen the clips of Chris Pratt talking about like his affinity for Mario? And he like keeps awkwardly freezing. He's like trying to think of the word like Koopa.
He's like, I played the original Mario game and I kept stomping on Koopas, and then someone took that and edited that game, and it's like, oh wait, you can't because you die. And so it was just like a death compilation. I don't know if he was I don't know.
But the way he said it was like stomping on, and then he paused, and these Goombas sound like people were like, oh, he sounds like he's about to say like a slur or something. I'm like, I don't know. All kinds of weird tweets about this film. It's Chris Pratt. It's basically just a Chris Pratt voice. He said it would be like unlike anything we've ever heard, and it was just a Chris Pratt voice. Maybe he tried something in the studio, and they were just like, nah, dude, that's not working. Just like be yourself. Like just be Chris Pratt, and that's probably what they went with.
Yeah, be yourself, Chris.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised because, of course, it's Illumination. I've had my long-standing beef with their output.
Oh, it is them.
Yeah, I guess I was expecting it to look worse. 'Cause I guess visually, for their usual standard, it is actually much better than what they normally do, but that's with the caveat that it is Illumination we're talking about. They've never really been all that visually interesting. In fact, they're obviously kind of skimp they ride the line in terms of trying to do budget animation, or that have classically been their forte. But here, it's like obviously that Nintendo devil on their shoulder will make sure it's to a different standard than like The Secret Life of Pets or some throwaway shit like that. But yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, it's obviously like for kids. It's not like laugh out loud funny or anything, and like the voices. That's the big thing. That was the drama from the beginning. Like, you got Seth Rogen in there. You got Charlie Day. This random cast.
Big cast. Jack Black.
Yeah, Jack Black as Bowser people seem to be enjoying. It seems okay to me.
Yeah,
I wasn't even thinking that it was him when I first watched it.
I would prefer if they didn't say it was him, because I think it would have sounded better to me if I didn't know it was him. Because now I just have this image in my head of like Jack Black doing that voice, and on its own, it's not like the worst. Like if I would prefer to have something a bit more sort of like, I guess, deep and like monstrous sounding instead of like a guy, but. It's definitely not the worst voice performance in the trailer, that's for sure. I'm just absolutely baffled by the fact that they would cast Chris Pratt, and I understand the cynical reason why. It's because they fed the information through a series of tubes, and his name came up, being like, "This is a popular actor you should cast in the lead role of your animated film," which is what the Garfield movie also did. So I understand why they cast him, but in terms of like art, in terms of like actually being able to get the voice, like. Did you see the video that Chris Pratt posted on, I don't know, Instagram, Twitter or something, where he was like, "It's a me, Mario." And then he said, "Haha, just kidding. We're actually putting a lot of work into this voice, and we found something that really works. I won't just be doing my Chris Pratt voice." He said that, and then the trailer comes out, and he's literally just doing Chris Pratt voice. And it's like, what the fuck? Were you a liar, or did you think that this was different? Like, your acting is not that, like, it's not that great. He doesn't have that much range.
I'll give him some credit. Yeah, I'll give him some credit. It was only one line in the trailer, so maybe there is some like hidden amazing performance in there that we're not seeing yet. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's no way to know. On the note of Jack, do we have anything more to say about the Mario trailer? I mean, I'll let you guys talk. But it's not like it's very quick.
I was interested by I saw on the IMDb listing, there's like a plot summary now, which just says a plumber named Mario travels through an underground labyrinth with his brother Luigi, trying to save a captured princess. I really didn't think they were going to just do that. Like, what is the story? Fish out of water, like a guy is taken from the real world and put in the Mario world? Because he's like, What is this place? He's not been there before.
Yeah, actually, this is upsetting me now that you're saying this. It's just he's gonna be like live action Chris Pratt, like falls down a fucking sewer pipe. Oh God.
Yeah. Well, where'd you take it? Wait, you just saved the princess?
Just do the Lego Movie story again.
Yeah,
like every movie does, like Free Guy does.
Yeah.
Well, it was written by the guy who did the Lego Movie too. So.
Oh. I was like perking up for a second when you said Lego Movie, and then you said 2. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I think it'll be great. Illumination. I mean, where could that go wrong?
I mean, yeah, another one.
People are saying that it's much better animation than your typical Illumination film. I've never watched through an entire Illumination film. I've only seen trailer footage, which is not like, it's never like a finished version of animation. So,
yeah, no, this one definitely looks better. Like, they've always had this like ugly, cheap-looking kind of motion blur on a lot of their movies before. You can tell from this trailer that there's just way more affection put into the actual animation, but that's to be expected with the property.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, people are being like really weird and defensive about this movie. In the same way that I was caught off guard with people's defense of Detective Pikachu, like me not liking the movie was attacking their identity. The same thing is happening here with the Mario trailer. Not even the movie, the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those properties, isn't it, that just has like really passionate
That's like
fans.
every movie now. Yeah. Right. It's like that's the same way with House of the Dragon, and it's like everything that people so animately defend it for some reason.
Yeah. It's like an identity thing. I think Nintendo just falls under that umbrella like Pokemon does, where it's like, well, this is something I did in my childhood, so if you're criticizing anything about it, then you're criticizing my childhood, and I liked my childhood.
Sonic as well.
Yeah, it is very, very strange. I commented on one of the shots in the trailer saying it looked over animated. And then this huge, gigantic, like 1,000-quote tweet, like Twitter storm happened of like people being like, Adam doesn't understand the 12 principles of animation, which is like so irrelevant to anything I was saying. They're like, what, you just made a video about how the Lion King 2019 was under animated. Therefore, you don't like facial expressions now. You don't like when characters are expressing themselves. It's like, it's pretty clear what I was saying in the original video. Like, there's like 5 different poses within 3 seconds. Like, that's what I mean by over animated. There's literally nothing within the principles of animation that says you have to have way more poses per second than, feels natural. There's like literally, it's so crazy that people use these buzzwords to try and pretend as though there's some sort of like objective measurement, or like, I don't know, either they don't understand what I was saying, or they're not trying to understand what I was saying, or they're just like really bad faith, and I've abused them in some way by not enjoying a property previous in my life or something. Like, oh no, I didn't like A Quiet Place, and so this person's just, I don't know, these people have some sort of bone to pick with me, I guess.
That's just Illumination at this point, isn't it? It's
Is it?
Over-animated. Everything.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
even
sorry.
Minions was that way. It's like everyone making silly poses and, dumb faces.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, this is so... because they're like, oh, it's made for kids. Well,
it's not impossible to understand what I was saying when I say over-animated. Like, these people make me think I'm crazy. It's so weird. Like, holy
it's
shit.
like the logic of, it's made for kids with like short attention spans, so the characters have to constantly be like, like
yeah,
like
and it was only
ADHD
one shot
that
I was complaining about.
Like if you watch a Pixar movie, it's not really like that.
Yeah,
they don't really, it's more subtle.
Yeah.
I appreciate the subtlety, which is not. I don't think that I'm going to the right movie for this.
That's never been the like skill, is it? Like,
but it's a kids movie.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So you're supposed to be a kid.
Movie too.
Go back to being a kid and enjoy the movie.
Yeah, right. They're like, I hate that excuse. Like, it's made for kids. It's like that's not an excuse not to try. Or like,
it's a review made by an adult. It's a reaction to a trailer. Like, you can just say that to anything. It's
the movie is made by adults. Yeah. I mean, you could always just say that. It's made by adults.
We're fucking like advanced monkeys, like circling the fucking universe on a giant ball of dirt and water. Like, okay, what do you mean?
All right.
I could also state some facts. Like, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
No, there was something about that shot. I'm there with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
For a character that's that big and hulking, what you're saying about the weight, that's the main thing that gets me. Like,
it's so bouncy.
He's a big hulking character. Maybe it works better in the whole scene when you see how he's normally animated or something. But just from that snippet, it is a lot of poses very quickly.
It's like I can see the... what is it called? Like the animatic or like this the storyboard where they have the keyframes and they show what pose they want to start the scene on, what pose they want to have like in the middle, and what pose they want to have the end. And it's like they didn't properly time it out. So the end of the shot is him like rah-ha-ha, like looking up with his like hands up in the air. But it's like there's so little time between each of these poses, like each of these like keyframes, that he moves so weirdly fast. It's like on the beat of some of his words, like each syllable has like a different pose and it's so dramatically different. Like, forgive me if I don't have like an animator's vocabulary to describe exactly what's wrong with this scene. Forgive me. Like, oh no, I'm going to flog myself. But to act as if I'm crazy for saying that it looks weird and off is like, you're just an idiot. You're an asshole. It's okay if you disagree with me. It's okay if you think otherwise, but to like pretend as if like, oh, there's no way that you're saying anything that makes sense here, and you're a what are people saying? You've ruined film criticism or something like. It's a fucking Mario movie trailer, dude. Oh yeah, always look at the quote
reaction,
tweets,
dude.
Yeah, there's every single time I get any sort of attention on Twitter. Like if I make a funny tweet and then people are retweeting it because it's a good joke, there are some people that'll just get mad that I'm like on their timeline, and they'll be like, "Did you hear this thing that Adam said 5 years ago or 10 years ago?" And like, it's just okay. All right, I just blocked now. And yeah, I understand the irony of like me talking about this on a podcast and, in a response video. But in terms of my my interaction on Twitter, at least, I just block and move on. So I'm still a person.
Yeah,
I'm still a human being.
The quote tweets. That's a dangerous zone.
Yeah, I know, because it's like in terms of how it's made, in terms of how it's designed, it's like the whole point is dunking on people for a quote tweet. Like, you're not just responding to someone.
Yeah.
You're not like, oh, I have something that I'd like to say in response to this. You're saying, I want to show all of my followers how stupid this person is. And I'm better because I'm showing them that they're stupid and I'm not the stupid one. Like, that's literally how it's designed. I don't think I've... Yeah, I don't really use Twitter that way.
I'm going to quote tweet you right now.
Oh, please.
Yeah, be really vicious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a good quote tweet.
Yeah. Just watch out, because Twitter doesn't understand satire when they suspend your account.
It's hard it's hard to see satire when just like without a tone of voice. It's just text.
Yeah.
For the record, I haven't seen this full trailer. I'm just commenting. I have had that criticism with Illumination before and with kids' films in general, that they are kind of over animated.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more to say about
it's
Mario?
Not an insane thing to say. People were saying it literally didn't exist.
Sure.
Like hundreds of quote tweets saying that it doesn't exist. It's insane.
Yeah, movies are very subjective. What can you say?
Oh, but these people know the 12 principles of animation, so they know what objectively a movie should be. Ralph.
I don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. 12 principles.
Oh, that means they're better than you because you don't know that. Actually,
I've never even fucking heard of that.
Yeah, it's like us trying to be like, you don't know rule of thirds, like as if that means anything to like whether or not someone enjoyed a trailer, or like whether or not someone likes how a shot is framed. It's like, that's objective or something. I don't know. These people are nuts. Anyway, speaking of questionable animation, we also the new Pinocchio film, but I should clarify, the Disney Plus exclusive 2022 Pinocchio film, not the Guillermo del Toro one coming out later this year, not the redub of Pinocchio: A True Story that came out this year.
Not the Russian one.
Yeah.
That
Not
was
the video game
shitty.
that's coming out.
Not the
It's like a
Pinocchio Souls
thing.
game. No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I will totally
Not
be
the
playing.
Roberto Benigni one.
Oh,
Not
well,
that
there's
one
two
either.
Roberto Benigni ones, Ralph.
Yeah, not the two Roberto Benigni ones. Yeah.
There's two. Wait, what?
Yeah, there are two.
What do you mean?
Well, so Roberto
there's
Benigni starred, wrote, and directed a Pinocchio film in, 96 or something? No. It was in the 90s. No, it was 2002. Sorry, got it. 2002. And it's one of the weirdest, most embarrassing things ever. And he's essentially just playing a little boy by himself, and it's clearly his passion project. Alex, I think you would love it, because it's one of those like gigantic messes.
Okay.
Where it's just like
Yeah, this does sound
huge
interesting.
passion involved
I
in
saw it
something,
as a
and you have to
kid.
wonder like,
Yeah.
why did you make this? And then later in 2019, Matteo Garrone, who's an Italian director that I really like, made the Pinocchio that got nominated for 2 Oscars. I think it was like effects and makeup. And that one was really good, and he wound up casting Roberto Benigni as Geppetto.
He's
because,
Geppetto in that one.
Yeah,
right?
it's just like a little like, hey, buddy,
Oh.
you tried your best.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
like a little homage to the
Yeah.
other one. Yeah, because he's a big
Yeah.
Pinocchio fan.
And I understand
it was
why,
funny
though.
seeing him play Pinocchio. It was like, because he's a full-grown man playing like a,
It's
a wooden
insane.
boy.
And he's running
It's very
around
weird.
yelling, and he's so hyperactive, and I looked it
Yeah.
up. He was like fucking 50 when they filmed that. He's like,
Yeah.
Geppetto, please,
Yeah, he's yelling
like
Italian.
the entire time. Oh my god, it's insane.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh, please watch it.
Saw that one as a child. I was probably like 5 years old.
Did you
or
watch the
something. It's fucking weird.
like original Italian language one?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
I think that's what they released.
Alex,
in
if you have
theaters.
trouble finding that, let me know. Cause,
I have a hard
can help you
time.
out.
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
'Cause,
I have a hard
yeah.
time remembering.
It is
was
very
a
difficult
long
to
time
find.
ago. So I would say this new one is slightly better than Pinocchio: A True Story, but that isn't really saying much. It's not. I was talking about this actually with a friend of mine, and he's like, "Do you remember the scene when like Pinocchio's walking down the street and he looks at a pile of horse shit on the street?" I'm like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Like, what was the point of that? What the fuck was that?
don't
Like, what was the point of that at all?"
What's the point of this movie?
There was
man?
poop in The Lion King 2019 also. Remember the dung that they changed the scene so that it went into poop?
I didn't even sit through that whole movie.
Oh yeah.
This I at least sat through, so maybe it's better than Lion King. But this movie was a mess, just as much as the Roberto Benigni one. I mean, it was a mess.
Yeah.
It's a total mess.
I am in like a very weird frame of mind about Pinocchio, because if you asked me like, I don't know, a year ago, I would just think of Pinocchio as like, oh yeah, one of these classic stories from Disney. Like it's probably like got some good source material or something. I guess a few years ago, because I watched the Matteo Garrodi one recently. But anyway, now I did these watch-alongs for like 6 different Pinocchio movies for no good reason other than I felt like I was like, well, I want to have more context for the Disney one, and the like I want to see what these other ones are like. I was so curious, especially about the Roberto Benigni one. And now my brain is ruined, and I've seen 3 different Pinocchio films that are all like genuine 1 out of 10s from me, which is not. I don't think that's happened with any other franchise. like
if you want to call it a franchise, I mean, it's just like
with any other property, with any other story.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Now I'm thinking maybe the story's just bad.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Do you think this would affect like your perspective
one of those
on
stories?
Right.
I don't think it's like Tarzan.
It would affect your perspective on like the Guillermo one coming out.
How much do you know about the original source material, Alex?
Of Pinocchio?
Yeah.
I assume it's like a book, right?
I think it was several books, but there's 2 adaptations that I've seen now, which are supposedly very accurate to the source material, and that would be both Benigni films. They get like really weird and dark, and the plot is very bizarre and kind of all over the place. And I will say, like, there's tiny things to take from it that are like, okay, I can understand why this transcended time. Like the growing nose when you lie sort of thing. It's almost like a lesson to teach kids or something. The whale. Like there's a lot of iconic imagery and ideas from Pinocchio, but like as a complete story, it kind of makes sense that it was in several different books, because it's like the structure is just all over the place. Like I rewatched the original 1940s one as well, and it's like, wow, great animation, but like, wow, they like they don't even leave the room until like 30 minutes through the movie. It's really weird.
It's even really longer in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, all the clocks that were just references to other Disney things. Fuck,
oh
so
yeah,
mad.
I was gonna talk about that. The fucking Roger Rabbit
Toy Story
clock and like,
yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm like, wasn't this supposed to be like a period movie, or maybe it wasn't? But
Geppetto predicted Disney.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, right. He created all the iconic characters.
He is Walt Disney.
They just thought like, who cares? Who gives a shit about like making this make sense? It's just I can't believe this is Robert Zemeckis either. I mean, that's
nuts.
He needs to be stopped. It's too much.
Right. They just get like a big director, like Tim Burton with that Dumbo one. They always just get like a big name just to put the name on the IMDb, and then that's it. Like you don't actually see them. You don't see their style or like their art like at all, really.
Yeah.
In these films, or it's very subtle. I mean, the movie didn't look awful like entirely, but
because he used to do this other entirely different style of animation with like Beowulf and Christmas Carol and Polar Express. Like he had 3 movies in a row basically where he was like, okay, this is the future, this is the style of animation directing that I'm going to do. And so for him to return to, I mean, they're calling it live action, but it's essentially like mostly animated, for him to return to animation in this way, and it looks so much worse than shit he was doing 15 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't even like those, really.
We're in the 80s. This is Roger Rabbit, man. Like,
yeah, Roger Rabbit was amazing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Roger Rabbit.
There's such like a technical like prowess to that movie.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like an embarrassment. Like every scene is just like an exaggerated like excuse to do some kind of like amusement park ride. It's so like exhausting. And all over the place.
I don't even like those Zemeckis Beowulf or whatever. I don't like those either.
They're not great.
Shit. Yeah,
but
Uncanny Valley. We weren't quite there yet.
This still looks like
this is
worse.
Yeah, this is worse. It is.
Except the fox, which I guess was handled by like a different animation team, or like maybe it was like reused assets from another movie that they canceled but had a higher budget or something. Like it's so weird. Yeah. It looks like a much better model.
You thought the fox looked good?
Because every animal every animal in the movie is like a different art style. It's so strange. And there are
the fox is one of the worst things. I
disagree.
I thought that looked like shit.
It's a more detailed character model, and whoever was like rigging it, whoever was animating it, was like much more talented than the other whoever was animating like Pinocchio and shit. I thought the movements were like much more natural.
Yeah, so many of those like screenshots that came out of like people criticizing the movie, those were from like, you know, usually of the fox or like shots of the fox in the trailer.
He felt out of place in terms of like what the other characters looked like. I'll give you that. But on its own, removed from the film, I thought the animation on the fox was good. Jiminy Cricket looked like absolutely terrifying. And also, what the fuck? It was really fucking Joseph Gordon-Levitt voicing it.
Yeah, really weird casting, eh?
And he sucked. Yeah. That was like maybe the worst voice acting I've ever heard. Like, I don't know if I've heard worse voice acting.
Man, yeah, it was pretty bad.
Like, do you think it was always the plan to put this on Disney Plus? Like we just mentioned, like the Tim Burton Dumbo, like that went to theaters, didn't it? Like, why does this one not? Surely maybe that was like the plan, but they had to change it when they saw like how it was coming together.
Yeah,
like, so
they must have changed it.
Weird because it feels like while watching the movie they ran out of money. Like the water, like the particle effects and like the water simulation at the end, like with the whale. Like from the beginning of the scene to the end of the scene, it looks like it somehow looks worse. It feels like there's a point in the movie, like close to the end, where they're like, fuck it, like, but the team hadn't finished like doing all the polishing touches to the animation. They're like, well, fuck it, it's Disney Plus, whatever.
That's how it felt from the beginning. It just didn't seem like anyone cared. It wasn't like them running out of money. It just didn't seem like they cared about the film at all. Like I thought the only one who was trying was Tom Hanks. I liked that whole segment. But again, that goes on too long. Man, the pacing for this film is fucking terrible. Like it's been like 30 minutes in his house and then like the rest of the story is so rushed through in like an hour.
Yeah.
It's been like only a few minutes in the whale, it feels like.
And it's
like,
longer.
That's like the low point. Like it's supposed to be. And man, they really fumbled the ending too. But I guess
the ending sucked.
Get to that.
Oh yeah.
What was that? Like we're gonna keep it ambiguous? Like why? Are they trying to make a sequel to this shit? Yeah, like we don't know if he became a real boy or not. And you know, Joseph Gordon-Levitt says that. It's like, why are they keeping it vague? Like, what the fuck's the point? Like,
it's you because it's 2022, that's the best part. And you should love for yourself for who you are and not transition. I don't know what Disney's trying to say, actually.
Yeah, it's not trying to say anything. You know, I think it is a good story. It's just, it's hard to tell. Like, you need to tell it right. It's like anything. Like, the 40s one told it right in certain adaptations of it. But, you know, it needs to be told correctly. This is not how you tell it. You don't throw in Chris Pine jokes and, like, modernize it.
Pinocchio.
That was hard.
My name
I didn't laugh
Pinocchio.
once.
Oh, I'm Han Solo. I bought a ticket, but I'm on only by myself. I guess you're going solo. That's where my name comes from. Fuck you, Disney. I hate this shit. Over-explaining everything like, oh yeah, everybody was dying to have that plot hole filled of why he's called Pinocchio. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
So silly.
Like the Han Solo thing.
They're all written that way though, aren't they? Every single one of these, like, bloated remakes, like adding songs into Aladdin where they didn't need to be, and they had like half an hour worth of just like shit. Like, why does it need to be there? What do you need to? It's
Literally
such a simple story. Yeah, that's what makes it good. Is the simplicity. You know, like these old classics. They are simple stories, but like,
right.
I don't know like what is even the creative like vision, the spark. It's just Robert Zemeckis, you make spin the roulette wheel Pinocchio now. Woo! That's the next one. And it's like, I mean, we're still getting trailers for ones that are coming with like The Little Mermaid. Like, it's just not stopping. And maybe this is the one that marks people actually getting more sick of it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it feels.
What I'm going to get into like conspiracy mode here because like there are all these different modern remake Disney films. They have different directors and they have different credited writers as well. But there's clearly forgive my pun, there's clearly someone pulling the strings, orchestrating exactly what these should be. I don't know if it's like someone higher up or someone like
maybe?
ghostwriting all of them, or like maybe there's just like a checklist, but it would be such a weird checklist because like every single one of these is so consistent in terms of like what they get wrong and how annoying they are. So the over explaining of every single like detail, like, oh yeah, things that they thought they were addressing but were never like plot holes and nobody actually cared about them, like the name Pinocchio, Han Solo. Cruella did the exact same thing. Just like The Lion King, just like every single other one of these Disney remakes, they make things way too morally obvious. So like any nuance that was in the original films, like the Pleasure Island scene with the donkeys, they're like, okay, we're gonna have the kids obviously bad, and they're gonna say we enjoy being bad kids, essentially. But in the original, it was like, no, they were just like having fun and like being kind of rebellious. They weren't actively consciously being like, heh, we're being bad. They were just like, oh, we're having fun eating candy. It was like, some sort of moral lesson against like, oh, this might feel good to you at the time, and you might not think that there's something wrong with it, but maybe there is something wrong. Like that's a more complex or more nuanced moral lesson, but they make it just so painfully obvious they can't leave any shred of of grayness to an issue. It's just got to be black and white. Like, it's bad, and we're gonna make sure you all know it's bad. It's the exact same thing they did with the like fucking Hakuna Matata in the Disney remake. They're like, well, actually, it's bad to do this. So
yeah, it's crazy. A film from the 40s has more nuance than a movie made.
They strip it away.
This year.
It's a part of the checklist somehow. I don't know why.
Right, they like strip away the personality of it all, and it's just very sad to watch. It's it's dumb.
So sad. It's the visual thing that really gets me.
It's a mess visually too.
Yeah, like they had it sorted in the 40s. Like that was what they were flexing, and they were proud to show off their animation. That was like the whole point of what they built the brand on.
The animation was great.
Yeah. But then the animation is a focal point of the Robert Zemeckis one. It's just like the most grotesque, unfinished, rushed, all over the place like implementation of it. Like I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. Honestly, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it really is.
If there's one shot that should be compared from both of these films in terms of animation, it's when Pinocchio looks through the fishbowl in the first act of the film while he's still at Geppetto's house and they're, before doing the dancing or whatever. In the original film, like the hand-drawn animation, like each one of those frames, how the character's face gets like morphed as if it were like a funhouse mirror sort of thing. It's like, it's genuinely incredible that, that was able to come out of like someone drawing, even if they use like references or however they did it. It's like genuinely incredible. And then you see the same shot in in this remake. It's like, wow, like that looks worse and there's no like craftsmanship to it in the same way. It's like, it's a simulation, and it's just, not to say like computer animators don't do any work or anything, but it's just all of the impressive talent is just removed from a shot like that. I don't know. Just look at them side by side. It's incredible.
Yeah. I'm not trying to be too hard on it. It's genuinely like embarrassing. Like you said, like I was kind of into it at the start with Tom Hanks, but then it's really when they got into the Fox and that stuff, like that's when the movie really went downhill for me. I'm like, this is like, all right, this is getting really fucking bad now.
See, at that point, I was just happy they'd left the clock shop. It's like half an hour.
But that was like its own little short film with Tom Hanks. I'm like, all right, at least I'm watching like a real actor.
That's kind of what the whole story is, isn't it? It's kind of like a bunch of short films kind of stitched together.
That's what it feels like. Yeah, it's so disconnected.
Like the whole kid Donkey Island thing has really nothing to do with the whale stuff, which has nothing to do with the the show that they put on. So there's no real
they had that other character. Was that girl puppet character in the orial one?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
It's like,
I think that was made
like
up,
a girl in her
Disney tinkers.
I am a Pinocchio expert now.
Yeah, you just watched them.
Almost all of them.
You would know. Yeah, it's just a weird addition, right? It's like adding Jasmine's friend in there for the Aladdin remake. It's just like, why do you need why do you need that? Like the story.
I think there were like no female characters in the original, so that's probably other than
the fairy godmother.
Fairy godmother's the one.
But that's it. And she's just kind of like, I don't know, like a plot device, basically.
Yeah, you could have made like one of the kids on Pleasure Island like a girl. Like, what does that change? Nothing. Like, there's like all these changes. You could just be like, oh yeah, make that character a girl.
Make Geppetto a girl.
The fish was a girl. the fish, they just copied the design.
Oh yeah, it looked like it was from Shark Tale.
It did. It looked so uncanny valley. Like they just copied the design from the original one. It's like that doesn't really work in 2D. Like you give it lips.
That was another frustrating thing. Though, was like they kept picking and choosing. Like, yeah, we want the visual design of Pinocchio from the original to basically be identical,
exact
in 3D CG. But the whale's like completely different. There's like the seagull character. There's a cat. So it's just like some of it's realistic, some of it's like really exaggerated. Like the fox character.
Yeah,
it's like visually so frustrating.
It's like what they were trying to do with the Chip and Dale movie, except like they weren't trying to do that here. Just like a mishmash of different animation styles. Like,
yeah, that is how it felt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about the seagull played by Lorraine Bracco. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah,
character.
That was an addition.
Yeah.
They put the seagull in so that, because in the original 1940s film, Pinocchio just shows back up from Pleasure Island, and there's like a note at the house saying like, oh, Geppetto was so sad that you were gone that he went looking for you and now he's in a whale. And that's how they get to the next scene. He just gets a note. He's like, who gave me this? And in this one, it's like,
that's funny.
They're trying to address some things.
Well, in this one, Pinocchio, he becomes a speedboat in that scene, and he goes to the whale.
Like Incredibles.
Perhaps for... Oh, yeah, that is the Incredibles. You're right.
Yeah, like, that was dumb, too. It's like, why can Pinocchio do that? It doesn't even make any sense. They just didn't care. They just didn't give a shit. Yeah, who cares? Awful, man. This is really, really fucking bad.
It doesn't feel like it was made out of any sort of passion or even respect for the story being told.
No.
And it's unintentionally scary. Like, the original movie is creepy and scary. Yeah, but at least that was like intentional, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's scary. Like it's scary just because of how off everything looks in this new one.
There's some unintentionally scary shit in the original. I will say that. There definitely is.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You should give it a rewatch.
Adam, you say this all the time. It feels like an assembly line movie. That's
yes.
exactly how it feels. It just feels like they, everyone had to finish their shots and everyone's getting paid. And
some people didn't even get to finish them.
No. Yeah, it's not a good movie. It's very bad. I like Tom Hanks. That's about it. It's like the only thing I could say.
He's in a lot of bad shit right now.
Right. Yeah. He's in a lot of like Apple Plus movies.
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus, whatever movies like that. Yeah. I like him in Elvis recently, but this is not one of his good movies, that's for sure. It's no Castaway. It's no Forrest Gump.
It kind of is a Castaway.
Yeah, the movie's a Castaway.
Yeah.
Again, those are both Zemeckis. Like, I just can't believe like how this came together. It's not.
I would
good.
compare this to the Green Mile. This is a real Green Mile.
It's just like little things, like if they want to call it live action and have this whole like branch of movies that they call live action, but they are more animated. And it's just it's so annoying because puppets are real. Like puppeteers, it's like an actual like, that's a thing that people do, and you can put it on camera to like creepy effect or whatever effect you want. But every like puppet in the movie is just a CG monster. Like, because it's just easier. It's hard to get like actual puppeteers and do something with that, and maybe change the design of the characters somewhat. But no, they were just CG nostalgia bait abominations. It really is
clearly CG.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No weight to anything.
Or even like the clocks. You can make like real clocks, but they didn't. It's just it's all clearly CG.
Yeah, it's just easier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always about just what's easier and cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
For the flow of how to just get it out the door, like the CG dogs in Cruella and stuff, even though It's just make it animated. Like all these problems would be solved if you just made animated movies, you idiots.
Yeah, even like a 3D animated. I don't know why they didn't go that way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Because really the only live action thing in the movie is Tom Hanks and a couple other actors. And like that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
The rest of it's basically an animated movie. It's just I don't know. Yeah, it didn't come together.
Just like revolting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like unwatchable. Really. I couldn't get over the pacing that was so bad and how they butchered the ending. That ending is fucking awful. Like, if it wasn't for that, I might have given it a chance.
How do you ruin the ending of Pinocchio?
Yeah. Yeah, right? It's like the most basic shit.
I know you said the movie went downhill. I don't think there was a hill. I think it was just at the bottom the entire time.
From the second it started.
It didn't budge.
I was giving it a chance. It wasn't like great at the start, but I'm like, okay, I can like, this is tolerable. And then, yeah, once it got to him, it's like once Pinocchio finds that horse shit on the street, the movie tanks. And that's what the movie became.
Mm-hmm.
It became horse shit.
A big pile of shit, yeah.
I will say the original is one of the better Pinocchio films. I think that people do look at it with like rose-colored glasses in a way. The animation's fantastic. That's the best part about it. I think it's incredible. And I love that it got made. I just think like a lot of the same structure and pacing issues that you're complaining about in this film, they are in the first film as well. This newest film is worse, much worse story-wise, pacing-wise, and everything. They add more to it. Ending. It's longer. Yeah. But I do want to shout out the I think it's 2019 Matteo Garrone film. I think that's my favorite Pinocchio film so far, and we'll see what Guillermo does later this year. But yeah, the Matteo Garrone one is like legit disturbing in a good way, and like kind of fucked up and like really artful. And just like you can tell he loves the story. You can tell that he's doing it out of like a passionate place, and it came together really well. So I would like to.
You don't think this film would like sour you on the Guillermo one?
No, I've already seen 1,000 Pinocchio films this year.
Yeah, at this point, right?
The trailer looks good enough.
Now I'm just interested in the lore, you know? Now I'm just like watching these films like a nerd.
Right.
Like, oh, will they do a book adaptation version, or where will they deviate?
Like, why does a Netflix stop motion Pinocchio movie have better animation than the Disney Pinocchio movie?
I haven't watched the trailer for the Guillermo.
They made the definitive version of Pinocchio, Disney, and now they've completely fucked it up.
Yeah. They decided to make a 1 out of 10 Pinocchio movie, which I've seen 3 of now. Which shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. Very sad days. That's all I could say.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got him. 1 out of 10 from me.
1 out of 10. Yeah. I'd go maybe, what is it? A 1.5 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Just for Tom Hanks. Otherwise, it would be a 1 star.
Yeah. Tom Hanks brings it up like a half. That's it.
Yeah, this is a half star for me. I was broken by these a long time ago, you know. Like, I just know, like, you forget about some of them, like Mulan, Lady and the Tramp, Beauty and the Beast. Like,
I legitimately did forget about Mulan.
Yeah, me too.
I was like, oh, they remade Mulan.
That's probably the most boring one.
This is like one of the shorter ones. Yeah, I think was it Mulan like 2 hours or something? I mean, it might not be.
They all make them longer for no reason.
Yeah,
they're all so fucking
This one's
long.
at least short. I mean, it didn't feel like 90 minutes. It felt longer than 90 minutes, but it was like shorter. I will give it that.
It's just,
which is kind of a backhanded compliment, also. But you know, whatever. At least I got through it.
For sure, it's just the embellishment. Just embellishing every detail that didn't need to be embellished. Just leave it, you know? Like, a good remake is fine if you actually have some idea, like, different angle. But it is just, like, almost shot for shot, just with added dumb shit, and it looks ugly. And everything's just a bit off. Nice one.
Thanks, Disney.
Yeah, good one.
Thank
What's
you.
next?
For Little Mermaid is next. Can't wait for that one. I don't know what's after that. They're doing Hunchback, probably.
Oh yeah,
butcher that one.
Yeah, Little Mermaid's coming up.
Yeah, Little Mermaid, Hunchback, and then I don't know after that. What else can they do?
We're getting a Lion King prequel called Mufasa, directed by Barry Jenkins.
Yeah, that's right. That one.
Fucking prequel. You can't
The
make
director
it
of
up,
Moonlight.
Yeah.
Hey, good for him. He's getting paid.
It was
I don't
so
give a shit.
funny.
Good for him.
Because, like, the other conversation about this is not just like the Disney remakes, but also like the Marvel shit, where I'm like,
Yeah.
every actor that I see, like every talented person I see now, I'm just like, I associate them with a superhero character. Like watching Brokeback Mountain, I'm like, oh, Mysterio's having sex with Joker. Like, you can't just watch a movie and like every character is just a fucking superhero now. It's just crazy. I was thinking about it the other day.
Right, because then people go on Twitter like, this actor's great. You should cast him as blah, blah, blah.
They've caught everyone.
Comic issue. Yeah, that's what happens.
In their net.
Yeah, and every director, too. Let's take a great indie director like Taika Waititi, like, oh, have him do the Thor movie. It's just like, just throw everyone in the blender.
Could you imagine if Martin Scorsese caved and was like, I'm doing Suicide Squad?
Yeah, that would be funny. He's like, I'm doing Suicide Squad 3.
The Suicide Squads.
And it would probably be awesome.
Probably, yeah.
It would probably be really good, but I don't know if he wants to do that. They'll get Robert Eggers too.
Yeah, it seems like they're a little restrictive. Again, my conspiracy brain. It's like, yeah, there's clearly a lot of things they don't allow you to do in terms of making choices if you sign on to one of these Disney things. They don't give you a lot of freedom, which is why they all suck now. Like their best films were the risk takers.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, Barry Jenkins, he's a great director. He's like, I'm not doing that shit. Wait, how much?
Yeah.
How much is the check? All right, I'll do it. I can pay for a yacht.
He can pay for Moonlight too.
He could. He could pay for movies probably for the rest of his career.
Daylight.
So that's why they do it. Daylight.
Sunlight.
Yeah.
All right. I recommended a film almost as terrifying as Pinocchio 2022. Called Threads, 1984. It is literally 1984. Spoilers for Threads. This was a film that aired on the BBC, supposedly without any ad breaks, just as like a single TV movie. And it's about...
there are no ads on BBC.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the good things about it.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because CBC is a crown corporation, and they still do commercial breaks. That's interesting. I guess that's different. That's very cool.
What your TV license is for.
Oh, yeah. The license probably pays for that shit.
Yeah.
That's hilarious, actually. It's a very bleak movie if you don't like movies that are kind of dark, to say the least. Maybe this one's not for you.
Just a little bit.
It's kind of it's up there.
It's very disturbing.
It's a notoriously dark movie. What did you think about it? It's about the fucking nuclear stuff.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. I think considering when it came out, and how relevant it still kind of is to this day, and how frightening the reminder
especially
of the
with
movie
the stuff
is.
going on, in like Ukraine, especially with that,
I think it's effective. It's kind of cold and distant, intentionally. It's just like cruel and unceremonious with the reality of just trying to show how a nuke or multiple nukes, I can't remember, would affect the UK specifically, Sheffield, focusing more on a kind of poorer area to get that perspective. But it's really, really depressing.
Yeah, it's really depressing and disturbing. Yeah, like right after I watched the movie, I go on Twitter and I see like literally bombing of like the Ukrainian capital. I'm like, oh my god, yeah. So it's like definitely, it has that extra layer of it. Like, when I watched it, I'm like, yeah, this is like scary shit. Like you recommended this around like Halloween time. I was thinking like maybe you'd recommend a horror movie, but this kind of is a horror movie. It's like very almost existential, but it is like very disturbing to watch.
Yeah, it is
like one of the most disturbing films I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it's like
terrifying.
Incredibly bleak. Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying to watch. For a TV movie especially, I was not expecting like something this good. It's got very high ratings on like Letterboxd or whatever. But yeah, there's a lot I liked about it. I do think the fact that it's a TV movie kind of like it feels kind of limited by like how much money they had at times. Yeah. The budget was probably very low. There was a scene I noticed like trucks drive by and you don't see the trucks. You see like headlights shining on the characters.
Okay.
It's like a artistic way of like getting around
footage.
it. Stock footage, photographs. There's a lot of text like explaining things. You don't see it necessarily. That is like an artistic decision too, but I can't help but like get my mind out of that framework. Like if this was like a bigger budget movie or if it was like made today, like I thought of like Chernobyl. That's like what I compared it most to probably, which is a great show. But yeah, there's like a lot of good acting and yeah, it's very believable.
I thought it had like really great production value for a TV movie. But also I watch like a lot of like low budget non-TV movies anyway. I don't usually watch a lot of TV movies. Usually I find like if it's a TV movie that I'm watching, like usually they're kind of like older and kind of shitty and much more cheesy. That's usually something that I feel goes along with TV movies is like this layer of like just I don't know if it's like tonal incompetence is what I want to say. But this like this really did hammer home the bleak and depressing nature that it was going for. There was a lot more talent in this than your average TV movie, even regardless of considering budget. But yeah, I think the production value definitely worked for what it was going for. I got more out of it than I was expecting in that sense, actually.
They definitely put a lot of work into getting really good actors, which I think is a huge like positive about the film.
Thing.
Like all the acting is very good, and there's a lot of like characters in the movie. Like its scope is very wide, and like all the actors in here were great. I don't have like a single like even like the child actors or like older people. They're like all really good actors that they got. It's very believable.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of The Road a little bit, mostly in terms of like at a certain point in the story, you're basically just aware that they're fucked. Like these characters, they're done for. Basically, there's really nothing they can do, and it's just about exploring the hopelessness and just how quickly things fall apart. It's kind of what the title of the film is like prodding at. There's that opening speech with the spider saying like how like the way society is structured, where it's just everyone is so reliant on each other, and anything that can interrupt things like supply lines, like crop growth. It's like surprising how quickly things can just crumble. Watching that on screen is horrifying. Yeah,
things I don't really like think about, but yeah, you're right. You're like the degradation of society, like in this film, is like it's very disturbing to watch. It's just like everything falling apart very slowly and believably.
Yeah, methodically with that narration as well. It's so like kind of detached and distant, just like laying down the facts. Yep, these are the likely contagions that will probably be showing up around this time.
Oh yeah,
this
with
is
the
like
text.
What will be happening here, and that
I really like the sound that goes with the text at the beginning too, like a typewriter. It kind of sounds like gunshots too, but it's very loud and like jarring. It's like whenever the text came up, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, and hardly uses music or anything like that. It's very just trying to be as realistic as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of like uncomfortable tension in the opening of this film because you kind of just know where things are heading. You're like, I'm just seeing people make plans for the future. A lot of different characters, living their lives essentially. And what else do you do? But yeah, you kind of just you know where it's going, and you know that they're kind of screwed, and it's an uncomfortable watch. I do feel like I guess my biggest criticism with the film would be that it is a little long for what it is. It's sure it's a slow burn, but there were points at which I found like, okay, this is like starting to get a little impatient here with what it's doing. And in terms of structure, it is like just a lot of montages of misery and like people crying and suffering. There's no like singular character to like follow through the entire adventure. Like you said, it is very distant and detached. It's kind of like a documentary style. And that does have its benefits for what it's going for, but on a personal level, I feel like either maybe the length should have been cut a bit shorter, or I don't know, have a more personal character journey or something to follow. I know that sounds like a bit more cliched, but I was detached from it in an entertainment way at parts. So I wasn't getting like the full emotional experience out of it that I feel I should have.
Yeah, the structure of it mostly worked for me. I think there was like a viewpoint character. I think her name was Ruth. Like, you know, they cut to a lot of other characters, but she's kind of like her and her daughter eventually, like later on in the movie. Yeah. So, but I don't know. That structure kind of worked for me. Kind of like it's all like, you know, the scope is very wide, like I said, and then you see like a lot of them die, like in that middle. See, I don't know if it's the middle. It's like, you know, when the bomb goes off, it's like absolutely brutal. Like when it first goes off and some windows shatter, I was like, "Oh, all right, it's just like it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be." But then then it's like everything blows up. It's like fuck.
Yeah, the flashes of white in silence.
That was crazy. Yeah,
quite terrifying.
Yeah. That was a good scene. That was a really good scene.
Yeah, it captured something about it that not a lot of other films do. I would like to see more films that deal with, I don't know, like character perspective in the middle of like some sort of nuclear disaster. Because I thought that was like a really interesting sequence to show. Because I was kind of caught off guard by what was even happening in the sequence, like the whole blinding light and characters like shielding their eyes and like the chaos. Like, I've seen like a decent amount of war movies, but you don't often get something like that specifically. And so I guess maybe just that new sort of fresh perspective on this type of disaster made it more emotionally effective for me.
Yeah, I mostly liked how it was told. It's just like a lot of, if I know, it's just like a lot of disturbing scenes I've written down, like when she was giving birth.
Oh,
like,
boy.
Later on. Yeah, she has to cut the umbilical cord with her teeth.
Yeah, bites.
She's like by herself in a shed. Yeah, it's like, you know, and like that daughter character is basically born into the nuclear, post the nuclear war. Like she has no.
Yeah, she's got like no emotion or anything. Like when her mom dies, she's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Just the implication is probably
only
just
knows
seeing so many bodies, so much death that this new one isn't even a big deal.
Right, and she only knows basic English. Like she can't even speak really. That's like an interesting thing to think about. Like, you know, if that were to happen, like, oh yeah, people wouldn't be able to like, you know, there'd be no education system or any of these things that like we're used to.
Yeah, a lot of characters were just silent, really. You know, like nobody was really talking to each other. Everybody kind of seemed like they were sharing some sort of like collective trauma, obviously, and I thought that was like a really interesting and probably, you know, honest way to portray that. Really bleak when it kind of just throws you in there rather than just imagining it or hearing about like what it would be like, just sort of seeing the set pieces of, you know, the kids looking at that shitty VHS as some basic form of education. There's like fucking 8 of them there. You know, it's just
there is a real emphasis on children actually throughout the whole movie. They want to make sure you know that kids are being blown apart. There's like a real focus in the first half before the nuke gets dropped. They want you to remember and roll around in the kind of filth that is a result of this kind of warfare.
Yeah, the lady like holding her baby, right? There's a lot of that.
Yeah, the whole kid through line, giving
Mhm.
birth a couple times, the different generations.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't think it would go that far. Like it was like this. Like I felt like maybe it'll end with the war or whatever, or with the nuke bombing. But no, it's like it spans a long time. But I think it really works, like how it was telling the story. Like you do see like the repercussions of that. Yeah, like you said, that kind of warfare, and then like the very bleak ending too. Like really hammers home.
Extremely bleak.
Yeah.
So, Alex, you're saying you watched this in school, right? How old were you?
Yeah,
and
no,
how
it was coming
that?
back to me when I was watching it. So what they did, I think it was like year 12 history. It was, we were learning about the Cold War, and they put on from the point of the nuke going off to the end. They didn't show us the first part for whatever reason, but it definitely was like burned into my my retina. Once I got to that point, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this horrifying, traumatizing degradation of society. Yeah, it's effective, but I'm kind of there with you though, with the emotional response where it is so cold and kind of factual, and having like a narrator there and making it feel like a documentary does kind of distract, whereas something like Grave of the Fireflies or something like that, I'm really there with the characters more so. But I also do quite like the approach of, you spend the first hour or so just showing real life and just having this building tension in the background with like the ignoring like the news reports and just this like slow trickle out of the news in the background being the
and like what can you do? Like it's not even really ignoring. It's just like you can't really, you kind of just have to accept that it's happening and hope that it doesn't go to worst case scenario. And you hear about these things, but you as a citizen, like, like even if you vote, like your country, like it was the US and Russia and Iran, like, and fucking Britain's just like, well, looks like they're fighting and we're all gonna die.
Yeah, no, there's that good scene in the pub where those two characters basically have that discussion where they're just like, okay, so what can I do about it?
Yeah.
What can I possibly do about it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit's bleak. I like that it gets you to think about like, real life. It
Very
sucks
bleak.
that, sucks that things are so stressful, Iran and Russia, big things happening in both of those countries right now.
Yeah. And in the past too, it's been a constant thing.
As someone in Vancouver, I've seen a lot of like protests against the Iranian government just happening on the train, and there was a huge one going down the street at the last Vancouver Film Festival movie that I saw while I was outside waiting in line, because it's very multicultural city, and so also very I guess progressive. So obviously we'll see some stuff like that there, but it is kind of just like a reminder of how crazy experiences are in the world right now and how awful things are for a lot of people in the world right now, and you can't do anything about it. I wish, just fucking, it'd be nice if just everybody could just live happy, stress-free lives, but there's a bunch of man babies in power that have really fragile egos and are willing to expend people's lives over nothing. So,
but isn't just the whole concept of mutually assured destruction just kind of crazy when it is laid out in like a story like this? It really makes you think, where it's like, wow, so really the only reason we're not flinging nukes at each other is because like it would just end everything. And the only reason we don't do that is because it would just destroy all of humanity. That's the only thing stopping it.
Yeah
it is still stressful because I'm not in the mind of Putin. I don't know how like we already know he's pretty unhinged. He's willing to like sacrifice his country basically for like, so I don't know what else he's willing to sacrifice is the problem. I hope something gets done. I hope something gets dealt with that solves this issue, but I am utterly powerless to do anything about it. So, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it is just sad, like how prescient it is. This is like a movie from '84. Decades later, and it's still like the same discussion pretty much.
Yeah, we're playing the oldies politically.
Right.
Gays are groomers again. There's satanic panic.
Yes.
We're all just on a fucking loop. Like, there's nothing new. Nobody learns anything.
Avatar and Modern Warfare 2 are coming out again. It's just the same shit.
Funny. Yeah, I saw that. God. Yeah. Like another point about the movie, like toward the beginning, they speak English in the movie, but it's also like very British. I had a hard time understanding like what people were saying toward the beginning.
Sheffield
like
accent.
In certain lines. Yeah, I'm like, oh, what the fuck did he just say? I know he's speaking English, but that's just a problem I have with a lot of British thing, like Peaky Blinders or whatever.
We got some wacky accents over here.
Yeah. Like when they were in the bar, they were saying things to each other. I'm like, what? Like at the beginning when they're in the car. I did think they kind of humanized like a lot of the characters. I didn't think it was so cold, like at the beginning. Maybe later on, but not at the beginning. I was kind of like, I actually liked that it wasn't very like sentimental or trying to tug at your heartstrings too hard.
I
it's
agree.
Like kind of just showing you what would happen. Yeah.
My ideal version, I'm not even sure exists, or is possible, because clearly this is going for something like very different. And my suggestion of like, oh yeah, couldn't we just follow a central character? That might just make it shit. Who knows? Like you'd have to see it in action. But I do feel like the characters were likable, and I think that a lot of that had to do with the performances. Like the acting was really, really good in this movie, and the scenes that stick out in my mind are all like heavily performance based. Those are the parts that humanize the tragedy the most, like the woman crying as she's like scraping down the wallpaper, like before anything has even happened, but she's like, coming to terms with the reality of the situation and the stress over this impending doom that may or may not happen. And then particularly the woman who's pregnant, and I think it was her mother trying to get her to eat something, and she's like, I don't even care about the baby anymore because I know that Jimmy's dead. Like, I know it, sort of thing. It's like, fuck, like that. Brutal, emotionally brutal to watch. Yeah. I still do wish it had more of a structure, or just runtime was shorter, but some great stuff about it.
Yeah, how long was it? Was it? I felt like it was about 90 minutes, right?
It was 2 hours.
Like
an hour 50, yeah.
Really? Wow, I didn't feel that. For me, it felt short.
Yeah, it does flow pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even know that. It's just like, I was pretty invested the whole time. Yeah, not sure.
It's just miserable, but it has to be miserable for it to make its point.
Yeah, it's given the story, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that poster where it's just completely black with what you see in the poster is all that would be left after a nuclear war.
Oh, is that Letterboxd?
A statement. That's on IMDb, for me at least.
Is it the one with the guy in the rifle too?
The blue text. No, it's just completely blank.
What? Please link me the poster. I don't know.
Well, I'll put it in.
Yeah. I see something different.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I see a few.
There we go. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not the default poster on mine, but that's pretty good.
What is it on yours?
Mine it's the same as the remastered Blu-ray cover.
With the bandaged.
Yeah, if you hit the right button once, you'll see it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, I do like. Yeah, I like that poster. The black one.
Yeah, I like that one too. There's some kind of weird posters for it.
It's funny because it looks like that's an American release poster, because you can see the R restricted logo at the bottom, like American theatrical release.
Oh yeah,
maybe it was.
Yeah, probably.
At some point.
It got MPAA rated. So.
Yeah, I much prefer that to the other ones.
Huh. Yeah, so was it I don't know if you have like an exact memory of this, but like, did they play it in school just as we have extra time after the curriculum, so we're playing a movie thing, or was it a part of a course? Was it a part of a subject?
I think it was more just to give some imagery to the like theory a bit much more. Because I guess it was quite an effective film at the time, like 84. Like it was still raging. I guess it was made during the war as well, so it kind of captures that feeling, that energy. Yeah, there wasn't anything specifically academic about it there from memory.
Okay.
But I think the BBC might actually not really like showing this movie anymore because of how distressing it is. I think that was a bit of trivia I read about it or something.
I don't
traumatized a generation.
Yeah,
it's someone on Letterboxd said it's a day ruiner. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. Like, you can't like enjoy yourself like after watching it. Like, yeah, that's like, it's not something you want to think about.
Yeah, but you can't sugarcoat a story about like nukes going off, can you? It would just be like corny.
Well, you can, yeah, but yeah, that would be corny.
Yeah.
There's plenty of movies that do, but the fact that this movie doesn't is that's really what makes it so like bleak and like, you know, that you actually think about it after. You're like, fuck, man. Like,
it seems like well researched in terms of like going through step by step of what the breakdown would be.
It does, yeah. It might not be like 100% accurate, but it does feel like very believable, at least from someone who doesn't know much about like how that would happen. Yeah, maybe it would be kind of different now, but it does feel very grounded, and it's kind of forced on the perspective too of like just that city, like that the UK specifically. Like you don't really see outside of that. Like you don't see what happens in the US or Russia. You don't really hear about it.
Yeah, the greater conflict's just not important. Like once the nukes are dropping, it's just
and there's no way of like those characters would even be able to know about it really. Like I like the stuff in the control room or whatever, the communications room, people trying to like get in contact with other people and they run out of food and they all start like yelling at each other. Like, right. It's like a complete breakdown of like all those characters. You got to start like rationing food. Like, oh, you get 500 calories, you know, and then we get 1,000 because we're actually working. It becomes like survival of the fittest. The military starts like killing people, taking their food, you know. Like
there were some really dark conversations with those, like the one where they're talking about like, why would we send resources there when we know everyone there is done for anyway? Like that kind of like harsh reality type stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's brutal.
People are eating
the
rats.
Scene where the guys, right? People eating rats. That was disgusting. There's this scene like the guys are looting like an abandoned building, and the military catches them, and they're like, "No looting." Meanwhile, the military just like takes all that stuff that they just looted, and like they probably just take it for themselves to eat. You know?
Yeah,
because they have guns. You know, they could do that. But like what the people were, they weren't really doing anything bad. It was like an abandoned house. Obviously, they're just trying to get something to eat. So it's like a lot of the harsh realities, like it gets you to think about in that way. And yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's very interesting to watch. Like that's kind of what if this did play out? Like it's very interesting to see how that would happen.
Yeah, guess there's not too much left to say about this movie unless there's some interesting trivia about it. But yeah, for a movie that is mostly just like a montage of suffering. Yeah. It was I was more attached to this than Solo. So yeah. This had a bit more
same.
More residency to me. I feel like because my experience watching this film wasn't engaging throughout the entire like 2-hour runtime. I would say I was engaged like, I don't know, 75% of it. There's like maybe half an hour that could have been cut out. But what I'm left with after the film is like very memorable. Like there's key scenes and moments that I really like from this and that resonate with me. So it's kind of difficult to like put a rating on it because if I'm rating just like my experience watching the film, it's probably like high 6 out of 10. But I don't know, the way I'm like reminiscing about parts of it makes it seem like I should like it more. I don't know, because whatever, high 6 for now, because lots of things that I love from this film, but the entire experience wasn't something I was super into. But
yeah, I guess I liked it a little bit more than you. I kept thinking about Contagion.
Felt like that,
Yeah, me
Just in
too.
terms of like,
Yeah.
just
The
taking
build-up.
something scary and possible, and like just events that we've been on the precipice of many a time, and just taking it to its logical extreme and just showing that, where you don't really need the same emphasis on like a lead character in the same way, and you can take it a bit more broad and show like different sects of society and how they're reacting, and that is interesting all the way through, and I do really appreciate it for that, and it is suitably depressing and miserable. I don't know what other movie you'd recommend for accurate nuke misery. I'd probably give it 4-star, 8 out of 10.
I imagine it. You're affected by it, Alex, because it takes place like in the UK. Like the something I had watched it, but
Yeah, it's only a little island, so you got nowhere to go.
yeah, but
All
still
the
too
roads
like
being
that.
closed.
Right, there's a point where that doesn't really matter. It's just like rubble, right? So it doesn't.
Yeah.
I see the Contagion thing also, and I also saw kind of Children of Men. Like that's kind of, especially with like the birth scene, that does remind me of the scene in Children of Men.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like kind of a giving birth scene in that too, and like the production design and certain things. I'm about the same as you. I think I give it 4-star. It might go up to like maybe 4.5, but I'll give it a 4-star for now. That was really great. I'm like, when it was over, I'm like, man, that was like,
That's a lot.
some powerful
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's really good. I really enjoyed it. Good job, Mick Jackson. This director's name is funny.
yeah,
It's like the funniest thing about it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's it though. Movie's not funny.
no.
No, not funny. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
So I guess that's it.
I guess we can do questions, but just out of curiosity, Ralph, did you see The Rehearsal, the new Nathan Fielder show?
No, not at all.
No? Okay.
No.
I would recommend it. Not,
Yeah.
you don't have to rush to
it's
see
crazy.
it to talk about it on the podcast, but I would like to talk about it with you when you've seen it. I just think it's a great show that you should see. So
Yeah. Have you guys seen it? If
Yeah,
you
we've
could
both
talk
seen
about
it.
it if you
It's
want.
worth it, yeah, and it's only short
Mhm.
too.
Oh, okay. If you want to talk about it, you can.
Oh no, we don't need
You don't wanna
to
fill up time.
fill up.
Oh,
all the time.
okay.
I got some stuff I
I
got to
didn't-
do after this anyway. So
Yeah,
Um,
good. Yeah, all right. I'll check it out. Yeah, sounds good. See Hellraiser at some point too.
mhm.
So you'd recommend seeing Smile then?
I mean, it is
Oh, yeah.
funny, but you know how people are really mad at the concept of AI art right now, and the particular argument against
Yes.
it is that even if it is creating something that technically hasn't existed before, it's using other art pieces as a reference. So if you got an AI saying, make an art in the style of this artist, some people would say, well, even though they've created something new, they're technically copying from that artist because they've taken their previous works and regurgitated them. That's what Smile is to every modern horror movie. Like, it's
Oh, it's
literally
one of those.
a regurgitation of It Follows, The Ring, fucking that new James Wan one, Malignant. It regurgitates Truth or Dare, and there's like scene by scene, you're just like, that's from that, that's from that, that's from that, and that's the entire movie. And then there's some really funny parts, but oh yeah, Drag Me to Hell, there was a bit of regurgitation from that. Like, it's insane how derivative it is, and there's not a single original bone in the entire film's body, and it's getting great reviews, and everybody's like, you know what, I thought this would be bad, but it's actually pretty good. And yeah,
Yeah.
and everybody hates the new Hellraiser, which I really like.
I feel like so many horror movies go through that cycle.
Uh-huh. And then people kind of come around. Like, I think with Black Phone, people were, like, really praising it. I was kind of shocked about the reaction at first, too, because I thought it looked kind of like a Bye Bye Man. I thought it would get that response, but it got, like, a really good response. I think it's part of that, like, viral marketing.
Yeah, I can't predict it with these types of horror movies. People they're hungry for them.
There was like a bunch of viral, like that viral marketing on Twitter where if you like to tweet with like a hashtag smile in it, you got like a, it was like a smile. And then there was this thing like during, I think a baseball game, there was like a girl smiling like behind home plate.
They hired the actors
in a smile shirt
from the film to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like random.
Who are not like big actors or anything, but
I think that kind of helps with that. But yeah, I was shocked at like the response it had. I'll probably see it.
It's not a Blumhouse joint, and he actually posted on Twitter like he was jealous. He was like, "Congratulations!" I think it was like what, Paramount or something. I'll have to look it up. But this is like
I just assumed it was Blumhouse.
No, it feels like it would be, but then like all the marketing behind it, you're like, okay, this is like some big. This is like they got like some real money. $17 million budget. That's insane. It feels like somebody could have made it for like under 10 million.
Yeah.
17 seems a bit much.
Yeah. That Pearl movie was I think it was only $1 million. The same with that.
Crazy.
So I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. Yeah.
I have yet to watch
$1 million to make it.
Pearl.
Yeah, I haven't seen Pearl yet.
It's probably better than Smile, but
and Smile was Paramount, which is so weird.
Oh, okay.
Paramount.
Yeah.
Not Blumhouse.
Oh. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah.
You could say the same thing about like artists too. Like I think most artists take from other things that they've seen and made. Like unless you're talking about like, kind of maybe a Charlie Kaufman movie, but that's kind of like that's kind of the thing, right? Like everyone takes from other things. Yeah.
Drawing inspiration from places though is so different than like not having anything original to offer. They're like, it's only from other things. Like that's the entire movie. It's only from other things.
Yeah, it can be egregious.
It's a collage.
Oh my god. It's literally on the wiki page. I'm opening it right now. Smile received mostly positive reviews from critics who praised the jump scares, production values, and Bacon's performance, though some noted the similarities to other horror media such as It Follows and The Ring. Oh god, that's so funny.
It does look really It Follows,
literally
actually,
on the wiki.
Trailers. Yeah.
Jesus. Well, I guess anyone can edit a wiki, but it's funny that that's just there, though.
I thought it was the Bye Bye Man. That's that trailer reminded me of.
I thought, that most people that talk about film will say that they don't like a horror movie with jump scares and that they're cheap ways to manipulate an audience's emotions. That's the impression that I got. But seeing the reception for Smile, and especially in contrast to the new Hellraiser, I think people just really like jump scares. I think that's what people want.
I think you're right.
They're making a comeback.
That is what people want.
Maybe people are just kind of dumb. Because I don't like them.
I want to hear Martin Scorsese comment on it.
Yeah.
I want him to say something about
jump scares?
Yeah. Because it does feel like a theme park
I hate
thing,
those.
It doesn't feel like
maybe one jump scare, two, but if it's like a whole movie of that,
it can be done artfully.
Yeah, sure.
I liked the jump scare in Nocturnal Animals. There was one, and it caught me off guard.
Oh yeah, well that's like a drama, so sure. I'd say you could kind of do anything well. There's no like blanket rule, but yeah, it's like I guess you could do a tasteful jump scare. But it's very rarely done.
Yeah,
like very rarely.
I guess it's the haunted house thing, where if like superhero movies are like roller coasters, then these are just like a haunted house. You're looking for the cheap thing to fling around the corner and spook you for a second.
Yeah, right. It's cheap. It's just it's like startling. It's not really scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought critics would kind of look past that.
We got the scares on the way with what Blumhouse is actually making with their FNAF movie. That was
yeah, they found another director right now.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Who's never made anything good?
Yeah, I don't know who it is now, but it's not Harry Potter guy anymore.
Is that even relevant anymore? Like how
you'd be surprised, man. Speaking about fan bases that
oh yeah,
crazy for the.
We've been hearing about this movie since we started the show.
I'm going to criticize the animation in the new Five Nights at Freddy's trailer when it's out, and people are gonna shit on me.
You say it's over animated.
Like,
Yeah.
this was my childhood.
Yeah.
I forgot it was Blumhouse. All right, Emma Tammy is the new director.
Yeah, I was just looking her up.
Let's see what she's about. Director of The Wind.
The Wind.
That,
Is that like The Happening?
yeah, 2018's The Wind, which I guess got moderate reception and was at Fantastic Fest and TIFF. But yeah, Smile was bad. Let's do some questions.
Okay, let's do some questions from the Sardonicast community. Head over to the suggestion thread on the subreddit where you can ask us whatever you feel like, just like Electric Pine Cones did. Who can start us off here? Recently, Billy Eichner's movie Bros flopped. In response, he blames the flop on straight people not turning out to gay movies enough. Do you think that this is why the movie flopped, or could there be other problems? Do you have any thoughts on this matter?
Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts.
Well, based on the trailer, it looks like something that is masquerading as like, oh, we're so new and edgy, but literally it's just hinging on the characters being gay and it being like about gay relationships. But it looks like, you know, it looks like way too clean and polished. There's no big actors in it. Sorry, Billy. Like nobody shows up to see your movie in a theater. It's difficult to get people in theaters right now. Like if you want to put Brad Pitt in your movie, maybe you'll get some people in it. But like you can't just sell it on Billy on the street. Like it's not like, oh, you straight people are to blame. Like that's fucking stupid. Who was the last person that said that? The Charlie's
Elizabeth
Angels
Banks,
director?
Yeah,
who was like, men didn't show up to see the movie. I'm like, yeah, well, women are 52% of the population, so I don't know if men are to blame for that one.
Yeah. He says like people are homophobic. That's why they didn't see the movie. I agree with him. People are homophobic. Most people are. I don't disagree with that. But also it's like you know, you're kind of marketing to like a certain demographic.
It looks
like
bad.
That's the demographic, right? Like
Yeah,
gay
it does
people
look
go
bad.
out to see
Looks
it.
like a
Like
dumb
that should be
comedy.
enough. Yeah, it kind of looks like a dumb comedy. Like maybe
Yeah,
maybe people
it's
just didn't want to see
disingenuous
it.
though, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
when a movie's like of a certain quality, it doesn't matter like
Yeah.
what the characters are, who it's about. Like you got your Moonlights, Call Me by Your Name,
Yeah,
Brokeback,
sure.
we did
Moonlight.
just a few
We just
episodes
talked
ago,
about.
like
Yeah, that's a great.
Love
book.
Simon that came out like a few years ago.
True.
I just
Yeah,
don't
you
get
got-
like I don't get why directors feel like people are entitled to go see their movie. Like
They have to explain
go
it
see a
somehow
movie
because their ego's attached
Yeah.
to it. You know, if the movie fails,
Yes.
they fail, and they have to tell themselves why they're not a failure.
Yeah,
But in reality, it's like, okay, well, there was too much money attached to this with not enough star power is the biggest issue. Like
Yeah.
you put in way too
There's a
much of
lot
an
of
investment.
factors, yeah.
If this was like a small little indie movie about gay relationships and it did the whole festival circuit and it wasn't like, oh, we need to have people in the seats or else it's a failure, then it would have done fine. But like, dude, you're Billy Eichner. You're not gonna. You wouldn't get people in the seats if it was the same movie about straight people. Like it looks too sanitized. Sure, it's R-rated.
maybe. I mean,
But like sanitized in terms of like detached from reality. Like it doesn't feel like it's a personal movie made by someone who isn't like a privileged millionaire. You know, like you're trying to make a
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
about like relationships and like people living in
Sure.
New York and like, okay, everybody's just able to afford this like gigantic apartment by themselves. I stole that observation from R.M. Brown, by the way.
oh, okay. You have a point about the star power. I didn't really think about that. Yeah, but yeah, there's not really like a lot of big recognizable names like in the movie. Like I don't know who that Billy is. Like I don't know. I knew the guy. He's in Community. I knew him. I'm like, okay, I know him, but yeah, there's not like a lot of people. It kind of reminded me of like one of those Judd Apatow kind of comedies,
I
which
think
I
he
really
produced
don't
it.
like. Oh, he did. Okay, it reminded
Yeah.
me of one of those. Yeah, and you know, Judd Apatow usually has like bigger actors. Like he has Paul Rudd, Seth Rogen,
Yeah,
or, you know, something like-
people
yeah.
that get people
Yeah.
in the seats.
Leslie Mann, right? Like you know, people you know, like Megan Fox is in one of them, and yeah, like
Yeah.
you know these people. Like it's not like the same, right? And it's not like usually there's like a bunch of actors in them too.
Yeah,
So
like,
yeah, you got a good point about the stars. I think that's a part of it.
star power post COVID, like nobody, like it's insanely difficult to get people into theaters at this point.
Yeah, unless you have like AMC A-list, right?
Right? Like maybe it would have been successful if it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they're expecting it to be like Bad Neighbors level.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at this director just to see what he'd done. And he did both of those Bad Neighbor movies and like Get Into the Greek. But as you say, those all have like big stars in.
Yeah, Zac
It's not
Efron.
really the same level.
Yeah, Rose Byrne, Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I think that's
It's not that much of a mystery. Like, sure, 100%, there's probably people who would avoid this because they would feel uncomfortable watching a movie about gay relationships. Sure.
Sure.
But
yeah.
that doesn't mean that that's the only reason why the movie wasn't successful. And it's just a weird excuse to make.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very similar to the Charlie's Angels thing.
Yeah.
Like,
This movie went broke because it went woke. It was too woke.
Oh, this again.
Yeah.
It went
Yeah.
broke.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Is that like a thing now?
Well, I guess seeing as we're on this topic anyway, Goosey McGooseface 2 has this to say.
The sequel.
What are your thoughts on the controversy surrounding the Netflix Dharma series being tagged as LGBTQ+?
I mean, I don't. It's
guess
weird to be mad
technically-
about that. I think.
Yeah.
Because it technically is. Like, what's the category for? You know? If you're.
Yeah.
he is a part of the gay community. That I don't think that the gay community is filled with, like, only good people, just like the straight community isn't. Like, some of them. There's monsters in every community, guys. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess there are more productive conversations that could be had about the controversial things about Dharma than that Netflix fuck up. But
I haven't watched that show, so I don't know.
I will not be watching it.
Yeah, I won't be watching it either. I'm so sick of like serial killer biopics or whatever. They're so like exploitive and like just like how many of them are there?
yeah, you might be sick of it, but Matt, it's so popular. Like,
Right.
it's like Stranger Things numbers this Dharma show's getting.
People are just fascinated by it. But like, how many movies alone are about Jeffrey Dahmer? Like at this point, like come on now.
Is that
And like people are gonna
Jeremy
go,
Renner one?
oh, Mindhunter, Zodiac. Like those movies are not about like serial killers in the same way. It's about like the subject matter. But like Zodiac's about like, you know, the paranoia around it. Like we don't even know who that guy was, right? Or like Mindhunter's about like exploring the minds of like certain characters or whatever. Like you can do it tastefully. Like mostly, basically every example I think of is like David Fincher. Like I'm just so sick of most of
He's-
these.
yeah,
It's like
he's the
fucking
best at it,
pointless.
The
Yeah.
this guy, one of the creators, Ryan Murphy, he just makes like huge hit after hit. He was one of the creators of American Horror Story, and then like
Sure.
obviously
American
he
Crime
worked on
Story,
American Crime
about
Story,
OJ.
and just like there
Yeah.
are a bunch of things that like are really popular that I'm just not into, and so I just kind of I just kind of avoid what he makes, and so knowing that
Yeah.
he's a part of this, I'm like, yeah. It doesn't matter what other people are saying. I'm probably not going to be into this one either.
He's a really interesting like creator, showrunner, I guess. He like
Yeah.
kind of creates a show and then he kind of abandons it and moves on to something else. Like
Bye-bye.
you know, like he only makes like a first season really, and then he kind of moves on.
Yeah.
He does tons of that stuff. The O.J. Simpson show, and he did another season about Versace, I think. It's like, yeah, come on with this. Enough of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what if the category is like LGBT directors and it's like, are you not allowed to have like a gay director that made like a tragedy story? Like, I don't know. Like what's the if the category is LGBT films, if that's what it was, I'm pretty sure. Like that's not saying these are like the best representations of the LGBT community. It's a very like clinical specific definition of, oh, there's a gay person in this movie. There's a person in this movie that has sex with the same gender. Not consensually, but I mean... So it's a weird thing to get upset about. It's funny that There was a category, I think around Black History Month, where they put The Lion King 2019 in as an African story on Disney Plus. Like, I found that one to be a bit more offensive. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is Jon Favreau's vision, first of all, and they're all lions.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, that's much stranger.
It's Jon Favreau's vision of Africa. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very bleak. No beautiful skies.
Yeah.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's like Threads.
Yeah, exactly. Jon Favreau's Threads. It was like a documentary.
Yeah, there you go.
True. Yeah, it was a
No beautiful skies.
than Lion King.
And yeah.
And miserable. That's how he was trying to make it like Threads.
Yeah. So are you both on the same page about the controversy? Like, it's, I don't know. It's
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I don't know much about it. I mean,
We're at like a point now where just everything that comes out and is popular just has like 10 controversies. So it's just like at a certain point, I find it hard to like keep track even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something I'm trying to work on, and I'm getting better at every passing day, is caring less and less what people on Twitter think. And so it's like, I'm addressing it, but at the same time, blocked. Goodbye.
Right. Twitter's a lot of bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem. When you listen to them, like, you can fall into the trap of thinking that Twitter's like the real world.
Oh yeah.
When it's like it's really not.
It is
even remotely.
so unbelievably non-representative of like what human beings think. And it's insane that people get tricked into thinking that like like remember when fucking James Gunn almost got canceled? Like, that wasn't real world shit. That wasn't a real world
that was
thing.
crazy.
That was exclusively like a Twitter thing from a bunch of conservatives.
Yeah, well, that kind of hurt his career, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, momentarily.
Then he just went on to, then he made Suicide Squad and made a great movie, and now he's back to
everybody vouched
Suicide
for him.
Squad. I always mess up. Yeah, and now he's back to making Guardians. But yeah, I guess it does a little bit, but maybe not now. Maybe now it's like different.
Yeah,
There
that's
was, like,
the
a
crazy
little-
thing.
There's like a little controversy around TJ, or not TJ Miller. I mean, fuck him.
He's
like
got
the
a fair
Deadpool movie. Yeah, the Deadpool movie. There was some like, they announced like Hugh Jackman was like in it or whatever, and then James Mangold tweeted something like, the Wolverine, like, spoilers, getting killed in Logan. And I was like, "Oh, fuck you, James Mangold! Like, you don't own the character. You're not obligated to end Wolverine or whatever. You're not like the final word of Wolverine. It's like, just tweeted.
He
like,
said he was making a joke
GIF.
at least, but whatever. I think there was some truth
he
to
tweeted
it.
a
But...
GIF. I mean, sure, like, but yeah, people like fucking jumped on it.
That's so
I was
funny.
like, Jesus, like, fucking relax. Like, so yeah, it's Twitter.
Forbes 2019. 10% of Twitter users create 80% of tweets.
Really?
Yep.
That's funny. The rest are just like spam bots.
Well, here's the thing: is like you have a platform where it incentivizes people to take extreme positions, not only extreme positions, but like the whole like the gotchas and the like putting people up on a pedestal. Like, I'm better than this person. I'm quote tweet. I already mentioned this, but like it's the incentive structure of the platform, and then every reasonable person who doesn't get enjoyment out of drama and is just trying to have like, I don't know, nuanced conversations that aren't to get attention, but to have like, I don't know, like real perspectives or introspection on an issue, they just wind up either, getting ignored or just not wanting to participate because everybody's so hostile. Like, the people on extremes are hostile not only to the other extremes, but to the people in the middle who are just like, oh, this is a nuanced thing. I can see both sides of this issue. The people on the extremes try to push those people into the other pockets, the other corners. And it's just like, you're making it so that like, it's an incredibly inaccurate version of what public perception is. If the majority of people, if the majority is in a reasonable position, but they're too non-confrontational or just don't want to be dogpiled by extremist assholes that they don't speak, then all you see on the platform is extremist assholes. And it's one of the most toxic places on the entire internet. And I've said this many times before. It's just like, I honestly think the world would be better without Twitter. Everybody should delete their Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
It is a poison.
Elon will turn it around, though. He'll make it better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If I didn't have it for marketing and networking, then yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it's good for.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah.
That's the one that kind of settled with that.
Following mutuals and being able to DM them, I've gotten a lot. That's how I got the Charlie Kaufman interview. Is I found what's his name? No. I don't know why. Duke Johnson. I was going to say Duncan Jones. I knew that wasn't it. I followed Duke Johnson on Twitter, and he barely had any followers at the time. And I was able to get his attention and DM him. So, like, Twitter's useful for that. But in terms of, like, any kind of conversation...
I feel like you need it for, like, networking and that kind of thing. Because a lot of people have it and use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've DM'd a ton of people like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's useful for that. Especially now that I'm verified and people pay extra attention to my tweets.
Right, you're official.
Don't even get me started on that system. It's so annoying.
Oh, yeah, that system's
the
fucking
status
broken.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want people impersonating me. That's the only reason that should even be a feature.
Have you reapplied recently?
Supposed to be status. No, I just gave up. I just don't even care anymore.
Okay, because they changed the thresholds within the past year or so. So they've made it easier for like YouTube creators to get verified. It would be worth looking into.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe after this, talk about it. But it hasn't done shit for me.
All right, another question?
All right. Let's do this one then from Cilantro. What upcoming games are you guys excited about? Anything on the horizon?
Pinocchio Souls.
I got a couple. Oh yeah, what's that actually called again?
I don't know.
Does look quite wacky.
Pinocchio
Souls, yeah. That is basically what it is.
I'm exclusively a Pinocchio content creator now. You see those Disney channels? I'm like, I'm just the Pinocchio guy now.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Lies of P. That's what it's called.
Lies of P, yeah.
Pretty weird name, but Lies of P is what I'm saying.
More like Lies in P.
Actually, yeah. No, it is Lies of P.
That's insane.
They should have just called it Pinocchio.
Funny name. Yeah, Lies of Pinocchio would be cool.
That's fucking stupid. Oh, man.
We'll just call it Pinocchio. That is a funny name. I like that. Maybe it's more likely I'll play it now.
My God.
Nah. The Callisto Protocol I'm interested in.
What's that?
Like the so the director of the original Dead Space is basically making like a spiritual successor.
Nice.
It's basically just Dead Space. It was like weirdly attached to the PUBG like universe for a while, for like years, but then like recently they've detached it because it's just got nothing to do with PUBG, so I don't know why that was even a thing. But yeah, it looks interesting, like the violent excess of Dead Space, but in like a new skin. Hopefully that comes together. Scorn, you heard of this one? Where it looks like Geiger like art as like a game. It looks like crazy. And like gross, and like all the items you pick up, you're like slotting weird pieces of organic matter into each other, and looks like it could be cool and crazy.
Yeah, cool.
Those are a couple on my radar.
All right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'm an indie boy. I like to follow like individuals, and I don't really know of any upcoming projects from the individuals I follow. I like Terry Kavanagh, Super Hexagon guy. I like Jonathan Blow. Apparently there's an anniversary version of Braid coming out at some point soon, maybe. So, but then it's like, I don't know. It's weird for me to just be like, oh yeah, I'm excited for like an anniversary edition of something else. Dead Space is getting a remake, kind of, or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as
A
well.
remaster, kind of like the Last of Us thing. They are doing, I think they're making Dead Island 2. Which
Well,
is
I
kinda,
didn't like the first one.
I thought that was dead. Right, but it's kind of like, I'm shocked it's even coming out at this point. I might
That's
play
been like
that.
stuck in development hell for like years, right? I
Yeah.
remember that trailer. God, when did that come out?
Felt like a decade ago.
2017 or something?
I mean, maybe. For me, it felt like it was fucking years ago. I can look it up quick. Yeah, it's weird. It's coming out now.
Oh, the new God of War thing, Ragnarok.
Oh yeah, that's like in a month or so.
Yeah, I'll play that. I like God of
I'll
War.
play that.
Here's one.
Dead Island 2 trailer was... This is 2014. That's fucking nuts.
And it was one of the most
the trailer came out in
misleading
2014.
trailers of all time.
Yeah, that E3... Yeah, that E3 trailer is 2014. Doesn't
Wait,
show
the
any
original one or
gameplay.
the one for 2, sorry.
The one for 2. Dead Island 2. The animated trailer of him on the
With the guy running.
boardwalk or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, was that game just
That's
like
crazy.
delayed
That
a
was
billion times?
2014.
Yeah.
Oh.
From 2014, it's been
I
delayed.
forgot it was announced
It's
back then. That's so funny.
Wow, nearly 10 years.
It's fucking 8 years ago. That's fucking crazy. That's what I'm like, that's coming out now?
Did you hear that the record for most delayed game of all time has been broken recently with Beyond Good and Evil, the sequel? Yeah, it just beat Duke Nukem.
Oh, yeah.
The Ubisoft thing. Oh, I'd forgotten about that.
Right, Duke Nukem was the other one. It took like fucking 12 years to make.
Really?
It's like Boyhood. That game came out. Yeah, that game came out like shit, Duke Nukem. That's like an infamous one. Beyond Good and Evil. I remember that trailer from years ago. I'm not like a big video game person, so I don't keep up with it. These like the games coming out as much. If it's
I'm
like
still,
good, I'll get
like,
it. But
I only play games one day a week for my Sunday stream, and so I'm still catching up on all these old titles. There's like plenty of games that I'm just going through in my catalog of things I want to eventually get through. So I have yet to do...
yeah,
What was the new Souls game called? Elden Ring.
Pinocchio.
Elden Ring.
Pinocchio, yeah.
Lies of P.
Yeah,
Yes,
I have yet to do
please.
Elden Ring. I will be beating Sekiro this Sunday, I think. So, and then I think I'll be doing the Demon's Souls
hell
remake
yeah.
and then Elden Ring. So there will be a new Souls game before I'm done Elden Ring,
Dang.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, probably. I heard some interesting things about the kind of Hogwarts game, or it's like a Harry Potter game.
A Hogwarts
It's kinda-
Legacy, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not like a big Harry Potter fan. And again, there's gonna be people like, I'm not gonna support J.K. Rowling because whatever. It's like, okay, it's like my logic with the Lion King. Like, it's gonna make tons of money whether or not you buy it. Like, it's such a big property. Like with Disney too. Like the movie's gonna make $1 billion whether or not you give your money
Yeah.
to it. Like there's no
been one
point.
of those
Yeah.
discourse games, but it's all on Twitter though, isn't it? So.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen exactly Twitter things like, I'm not gonna buy it because I don't want to support J.K. Rowling. I'm like, all right, if it's a good game, I'll pick it up, but we'll see. It's not like it's gonna make much of a difference. It'll make plenty of money either way because it's Harry Potter. Anything connected to that makes money.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess we could do one more quick question, and then that should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's end on this quick one from Jersey Shore _elf. Do you guys take issue with people listening to an episode without watching the recommended movie? I do this occasionally, but have a few episodes I'm saving till they see the movie. Also, thanks for a small spoiler-free section before the discussion. Gives me an idea if I should watch it first or not.
No, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
Yeah, usually if it's like an incredible movie that I think is like necessary to experience without hearing anything about it, I'll usually say that. Yeah, if it's like that important, I'll usually give a pretty stern warning. Otherwise, most films I feel like the experience of watching it, I don't know, all my favorite movies, like you could explain every single thing that happens in the Holy Mountain, it still would not give you the experience of watching it. It still wouldn't like dampen it whatsoever. So there's certain movies that are like kind of impervious to that, I guess. Depends on if there's a twist, I guess, or if there's like a
Yeah. And some people, they just don't care about spoilers, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have to care about it.
Mm-hmm. I don't really care much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't matter too much, and you are free to listen to this podcast in whatever way you want. You can listen to it upside down,
backwards,
on an airplane upside down,
in space,
in space upside down,
on mute.
Yeah,
just play it and mute your phone.
Yeah, just
go ahead
on loop. Just sleepify that shit. Yeah, do whatever you want. We're not your dads. We're your daddies. Mm-hmm. Big difference.
Fathers.
Okay, I guess that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I guess there's a recommendation from Ralph.
Yeah, I have a film recommendation. In time for Halloween.
Oh boy!
So we keep it nice and spooky. Spooky movie. Well, this isn't really spooky. I think it's kind of horror though. I know it's a movie you guys like, so it'll make for a good conversation. I'll recommend a movie from the year 2000 called American Psycho.
Nice.
And
cool.
Be sure to check this out. Yeah, because it's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. Yeah, and
I've been meaning to watch my 4K copy. Thank you.
Oh yeah, there's a 4K. Well, I'll have to pick that up then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Came out 2000.
It's been a while. I'm excited to watch it again.
This will be it has been a while, and this will be a fun, meaty discussion.
Meaty.
Yeah. Oh, true. Yeah.
Lots of meat. Lots of blood. Yeah, lots of meat.
Juicy.
And this episode should be out I think either right around Halloween or on Halloween.
Oh, nice.
Which is cool.
True, actually.
So, yeah. It's be
awesome,
perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's exactly on Halloween.
On Halloween. If we're on time. If we don't fuck something up.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of, some things up in the air. Okay. So that's it.
Cool.
Thanks for listening.
All right. Thank you very much. If you don't want to be spoiled for American Psycho, year 2000, directed by Mary Herron, starring Christian Bale. Watch it before the next episode comes out. These episodes come out every 2 weeks, but you can listen to them early. If you go to sardonicast.com, sign up for premium. Also, patreon.com/sardonicast. It's only $2 a month. What are you doing? That's like a billion coffees. It's like you could just give us that money and not even feel it unless you're suffering economically. In that case, don't do it. Take care of yourself. We got merch also. Christmas is coming up. Plan ahead. Be responsible. Don't let down your younger sibling. Get them the merch.
Get them a Sard shirt.
They will cry if you don't.
Get a shirt for your dog.
Dog shirts.
Cat shirts. Yeah. Got shirts for all your pets.
We got a Sardonicast highlights channel. And also, send us some fan art. They'll appear at the beginning of the YouTube uploads. Send us your fan arts. Twitter hashtag Sardonicast fan art. Also, the subreddit. We'll see it there. Thank you for listening. Happy Puss in Boots. And
happy Donkey
Odie.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happy Lies of P. Bye.
Happy Fiona. Bye.